Look at your calendar. It is December 30th. While you were sleeping, the peace that the world celebrated on the 27th was not just broken, it was officially executed. At approximately 0400 hours today, as the sun began to rise over the ancient stones of the Priyavihir temple, the Thai Royal Army's early warning systems didn't just glitch. They lit up like a scorched circuit board. They confirmed a swarm, not a squadron, not a patrol, but a coordinated swarm of over 250 unidentified drones crossing the so-called peace zone. The mainstream media is already spinning the narrative. They are calling it a border skirmish. They are calling it tensions between neighbors. They are wrong. In the cold, calculated world of the silent script, there are no skirmishes. There are no accidents. There are only signals. Those 250 drones were not carrying high explosives. They weren't there to drop bombs or level buildings. They were there to perform something far more lethal, a live fire test of a new localized high-altitude jammer grid. While the world's diplomats were clinking glasses over the decked 27th Accords, the silent nations were calibrating the frequency that will eventually blind the entire Pacific. We are now exactly 48 hours away from the primary trigger point, January 1st, 2026. If you still believe the distraction war in the jungles of Thailand was about a few miles of disputed land, you haven't just been misled, you've been blinded. That 72-hour window of peace was a masterclass in deception. It was a tactical diversion designed to mask the largest, most aggressive naval and logistical repositioning in Southeast Asian history. While you were watching the news footage of soldiers shaking hands at the border, the gates were being locked behind you. The four silent nations have finished the chess move. In 48 hours, the Vietnam blackout begins. The rare earth taps go dry, and the global economy enters a tunnel with no exit. This isn't a prediction anymore. It is a countdown. And right now, I am going to show you the evidence they are desperate to hide before the screen goes black. To understand the catastrophic nature of the next 48 hours, we have to pull back the curtain on the last 48. On December 27th, the world breathed a sigh of relief. A ceasefire was signed. The U.S. State Department issued a glossy press release praising the diplomatic de-escalation. Every major news network, CNN, the BBC, Al Jazeera, ran the same looped footage of soldiers shaking hands and civilians returning to the border. It was a beautiful, coordinated image of peace. It was also the perfect silent move. It was the smokescreen. While the world's cameras were hyper-focused on that narrow strip of jungle at the Thai-Cambodian border, the real war, the invisible war, was rewiring the energy and data corridors of the planet. My sources on the ground, monitoring maritime traffic near the Malacca Strait, have confirmed a chilling development. 3 massive Chinese survey vessels equipped with deep-sea submersible bays have taken up stationary positions directly over the primary subsea data cables. These aren't just boats, they are surgical tools sitting on the jugular vein of the global internet. At the exact same moment these ships dropped anchor, Malaysia suddenly announced emergency maintenance across their offshore gas grids. No warning, no lead time, just a synchronized shutdown of the infrastructure that fuels the region's industrial heart. Does that sound like the byproduct of a peace treaty to you? Or does it sound like a synchronized multinational dark start procedure? The four silent nations, China, Russia, and their strategic proxies didn't want a ceasefire because they were tired of fighting. They needed a 72-hour quiet window. They needed Western intelligence satellites to be focused on troop withdrawals in the jungle so they could move their heavy-tonnage naval assets into strike positions without raising a red flag in Washington. They used the lives and the hopes of the people at the Thai-Cambodia border as a tactical distraction. The peace deal wasn't a conclusion. It was a transition. Now that the underwater assets are locked, now that the gas lines are maintained, the mask is coming off. The skirmishes have returned to the border. The drones are back in the sky. The distraction has served its purpose, and the setup for the January 1st collapse is officially complete. You are no longer watching a border dispute. You are watching the closing of the trap. Now we look at the clock. January 1st isn't just the start of a new year. It is the official activation of Vietnam's amended geology and minerals law, what intelligence circles are calling the most dangerous economic weapon in the Pacific. Vietnam holds an estimated 3.5 million metric tons of rare earth reserves, ranking it 6th on the planet. But don't let the 6th place fool you. In terms of untapped accessible deposits, Vietnam is the sleeping giant the West was counting on to break the Chinese monopoly. These 17 elements, neodymium, praseodymium, terbium, they aren't just minerals, they are the literal blood of the modern world. Without a steady, high-purity stream of these materials, there are no cruise missile guidance systems. There are no high-end semiconductors. There is no green energy transition, no wind turbines, and no electric vehicle fleet. For the last decade, the West has been desperately trying to build a China plus one strategy, and Vietnam was the one. But as of midnight on December 31st, that strategy is officially dead. The new law doesn't just regulate the industry, it classifies every ounce of rare earth as a special strategic national asset. It officially and permanently pulls the plug on the export of raw rare earth ores. Vietnam is moving to a value-add-only model, mirroring the aggressive nickel ban used by Indonesia to shake the global markets years ago. On the surface, Hanoi presents this as a sovereign nation simply trying to climb the industrial ladder. But deep in the silent script, the architecture is far more sinister. Confidential shipping logs and corporate filings reveal that a new joint venture powerhouse, backed by a silent broker through Singaporean shell companies, has already secured 90% of the future processed output. This means that even when Vietnam eventually builds its refineries, the product is already spoken for. It's already been diverted. We are currently in the 48-hour dead zone. As you watch this, cargo ships originally slated to carry unprocessed ore are being turned away from Vietnamese ports or rerouted to special economic zones where the four nations hold sway. The blackout isn't just about the lights going out in your house. It's a total industrial blackout. By January 5th, supply chains in Washington, Tokyo, and Berlin will realize the tap has been turned off. This is the precise moment the silent nations transition from the noisy military distraction of the Thai border to the silent, lethal reality of global economic strangulation. The tap hasn't just been closed, the handle has been broken off. I promised you the reveal of the fifth player. For weeks, we've tracked the four nations, the military might and the resource giants. But a script this complex, a disruption this total, requires more than just tanks and mines. It requires a banker. And to find them, you have to follow the gold. In the last 72 hours, the Singapore Gold Exchange hasn't just seen high volume, it has witnessed a seismic shift. Confidential warehouse data indicates a massive, anonymous influx of physical gold bullion, over 40 metric tons moving into private, ultra-secure vaults. This isn't the work of a central bank following standard protocols. This gold is being held by a private, non-state consortium, linked directly to the silent broker we have been tracking since the Thailand border first flared up. Why Singapore? Because it has become the neutral ground for the greatest financial pivot in history. This fifth player is the invisible bridge connecting the BRICS Plus energy network with the Southeast Asian resource bloc. Their job is deceptively simple: to facilitate the Jan 1st shift. Think about the timing. In exactly 48 hours, the Vietnam rare earth ban goes live. Simultaneously, the Malacca Strait is being shadowed by naval exercises that make traditional shipping insurance impossible. In that moment, the US dollar, the world's reserve currency, becomes functionally useless for trade in this region. If you can't insure the ship and you can't settle the contract in a currency the silent nations will accept, you are locked out. But the fifth player has already built the bypass. They have prepared a gold-anchored digital settlement system, the unit specifically designed to replace the SWIFT network in a heartbeat. They aren't just winning a border war, they are replacing the world's financial operating system. The 48-hour trap is designed to leave the Western banking system staring at a blank, frozen screen, while the new silent economy goes live in the East. And this brings us back to those 250 drones near the Prebvifir temple. I told you they were testing jammers. But they weren't just jamming radio waves. My analysis suggests they were testing packet burst interference, the ability to selectively disrupt the high-frequency financial data packets that link Western banks to Asian markets. While you are distracted by the possibility of a shooting war, the fifth player is cutting the digital tether. By the time the markets open on January 2nd, the silent script won't just be a theory. It will be the only ledger that still has power. You are watching the final hours of the old financial world, and the vault doors are already starting to hiss shut. Listen closely. What I am about to give you is not a weather forecast. It is an intelligence briefing for the final 48 hours of the world, as you currently know it. If you have any assets in the Pacific, if you have family in the region, or if you simply value your financial security, you need to mark these specific windows. These are the benchmarks of the silent script Phase 4 activation. Hour 48 to 36, the reconnaissance blind spot. Starting at 1800 hours tonight, watch the flight patterns over the Paracel Islands and the northern reaches of the South China Sea. We have already seen the first signs. China has just launched Justice Mission 2025, a massive live-fire exercise simulating a total blockade of major ports. Do not be distracted by the political rhetoric about Taiwan. This exercise is the cover. Under the guise of these drills, a total no-fly zone is being finalized. The purpose is not just to intimidate, it is to create a physical and electronic shield. This prevents Western reconnaissance satellites and high-altitude drones from seeing the final cargo transfers at the Vietnamese deep-water terminals. While the world's eyes are on the blockade of Taiwan, the real wealth, the rare earth strategic reserves, is being moved onto silent vessels that will never show up on a standard manifest. Hour 36 to 12. The energy shadow. As we move into December 30th, look for the energy shadow. We are already receiving reports of localized maintenance and sporadic power outages in northern Thailand and across the Cambodian border provinces. This is the final field test of the silent script cyber units. By cutting power to these specific nodes, they are testing the digital isolation of the region. They are ensuring that when the switch is flipped on January 1st, the local populations will be too concerned with their own lack of electricity and internet to notice the massive industrial exodus happening at the ports. This is the quiet before the storm, a controlled artificial silence designed to dampen any last-minute resistance from regional pro-Western factions. Hour 12 to 0, the Vietnam silence. The final phase begins at 12 p.m. on December 31st. At the stroke of midnight on January 1st, all outgoing satellite data and industrial telemetry from the Vietnamese mining sectors will go dark. That is your final signal. The new law won't just be words on a page in Hanoi. It will be a physical wall. The world will be distracted. Millions will be looking at the New Year's Eve fireworks in Sydney, Tokyo, and New York. But while they look at the sky, you need to be looking at the shipping manifests. If the ships stop, if the transponders go silent, the trap is closed. I am telling you this now because once that 48-hour window expires, the information flow out of Southeast Asia will be surgically restricted. The silent nations don't want you to know that the war has already been won without a single nuclear launch. They want you distracted by Justice Mission 2025 and border skirmishes while they quietly rewrite the future of the human race. You have 48 hours to see the truth. Use them. This is video 19 of our intelligence log. For some of you, this is the first time you are seeing the true shape of the curtain. For others, the core of this unit. You have been here since the very first briefing. You saw the Thailand setup when the world thought it was just a local riot. You saw the Malaysian energy shift when the experts called it a routine market correction. And now you are seeing the 48-hour blackout, before the first switch is even flipped. I know the numbers we track. I know the 4,000 hours of watch time we need to keep this channel alive, to keep this signal broadcasting in an era of increasing censorship. But let me be clear, that number is nothing. It is a grain of sand compared to the 4,000 hours of darkness the silent script has planned for the global economy starting January 1st. We are not just chasing an algorithm, we are racing against a total information eclipse. As the mainstream media continues to obsess over the trilateral meetings in Yunnan and the diplomatic success of the DEC 27th ceasefire, we are one of the few voices left on this platform tracking the actual movement of the assets. We don't look at the handshakes, we look at the hull depth of the cargo ships leaving Cam Ranh Bay. We don't listen to the speeches, we monitor the gold to bitumen swap rates in the dark pools of Singapore. If you want to stay informed as Phase 4 activates, as the Vietnam rare earth ban creates a vacuum in the Western tech sector and the Malacca energy shadow begins to chill global trade, you cannot afford to be a passive observer. You must be part of this unit. In a world of deepfakes and state-sponsored distractions, your only weapon is localized, raw intelligence. Subscribe to this log right now. Do not just follow, turn on every single notification. In the next 48 hours, the speed of information will move faster than the traditional news cycle can handle. Our next update, the 0-hour briefing, is scheduled to drop the exact moment the clock hits midnight on January 1st. When the rest of the world is distracted by the celebrations, we will be here, documenting the first seconds of the new era. The 72-hour trap is almost closed. The 48-hour blackout is officially starting. The silent nations have made their move, and the fifth player has cleared the ledger. The question is no longer if it will happen, but whether you will be ready when the lights go out. Don't be left in the dark. I have given you the coordinates. I have given you the timeline. Now it is up to you to stay awake. I will see you at the 0 hour.